and every story can change the world. Together we are Global Speakers Talk.
Hi everybody, and welcome to my talk that I'm going to speak about stress, menopause, and how trying harder doesn't necessarily work anymore. And it's really understanding that. So when it comes to stress, there's a lot on the internet now talking about how cortisol and how stress affects the body and the metabolism and what different supplements you can take. And pretty much I gained 15 kilos and a racing heart rate from stress, and I pretty much built my program from it. So I was doing everything correct, everything right, but my body just wasn't working like it should do. And I really couldn't understand why. But then I actually did find out that I had stress issues. I had high cortisol, which was affecting my ability to lose weight. I couldn't even actually get out of bed. I was just so exhausted all of the time. And it's really about you understanding your body and you as a person. So when it comes to menopause, what happens is we hit menopause, perimenopause, and progesterone, estrogen levels drop. And so therefore we start to gain weight around our middle, which actually can be cortisol. But what do? We start to eat less, we start to move more, and we start to stress our body even more. And this is what I did. I started training harder. I started reducing my calories. I really couldn't understand what was going on with my own body. So it's really about listening to you. You know, you're the one sitting in your own body on a daily basis. And so it's really about understanding that. So this is what I did. So understanding about that connection. So with menopause, it's really just the catalyst waiting in the wings. And I mean, I've worked with a lot of women who have had some trauma in their childhood, then they've had a stressful job, and then they've had maybe a death in the family, or they've been looking after an elderly parent. And it just really just added up. And then when they hit perimenopause, they started to feel fatigued. They didn't really understand what was going on, and they really couldn't make the connection. They just thought, oh, well, it's, I've got brain fog and it's menopause, when really that's not what it is. It's probably stress related. And look, cortisol, we do need that stress hormone to be able to get up on a morning and keep moving forward. But it's whether it's actually affected your metabolic health. That's the thing. It's really understanding that when it comes to stress. And really, it'll be whether you're fight or flight or rest and digest, and how you can actually manage stress. And, what I've seen a lot is that then clients that I've worked with, that's the day they actually go to the gym and they meet that trainer. And that trainer says to them, you need to put your fork down and you need to eat less and move more. When that won't necessarily work when you're stressed. You've got to fuel your body. You've actually got to fuel your body going forward and understanding that. And then what also happens with that too is your body's already, I'm stressed. And you're actually increasing that stress and making it even worse. So really understanding that, starting to listen to your own body. But one of the things that I find as well is it's really about working smarter, not harder. So when I work with people, that's what I say. It's about working smarter, not harder. Listening to your own body, because your body adapts at rest, not when you're necessarily doing more. So really, really understanding that. But one of the things that I specialize in is called inner core or inner unit, like a chassis of a car. Diaphragm, pelvic floor, TVA, and back muscles. And so what happens is when the internal structure is affected, if you think about a car, if it's blowing smoke when you're going down the road, if it's rusted, it's not necessarily going to perform well, and neither is your body. So it's really, really about understanding that and listening to yourself and your own body and how you're feeling. Okay, so with the structure, that starts to get affected. So you start to feel it in your hip, or you start to feel it in your knee, or you start to feel it in your shoulder. So it's really about strengthening that inner core and making it work well as doing diaphragmatic breathing, so belly breathing, so that then it makes you stand up straight. Everything is stacking together and working well. So the structure, the chassis of the car is strong. The gut and the core are on the same neurological loop. So what happens is it increases blood flow to the gut, helps those active hormones, and everything starts to work well. So when it comes to working harder, what you could do in your 30s and 40s isn't necessarily going to work now. Really understand that. And you really need to take responsibility for that. I mean, I've had a lot of women work with me saying, they wish I could just wave my magic wand and say, da-da, there is a magic pill. There isn't any magic pill. It's about doing those foundational things, looking at your nutrition, looking at your exercise, and making sure that you're recovering because your body adapts at rest. So it's really about quality, not necessarily quantity. Okay, and doing things that you really, really enjoy doing that really make you feel good, so that then your body then starts to adapt. It doesn't start to break things down, and you're able to have more energy. So starting first of all, understanding where your stress is coming from. And so what I do is I get people to start creating a journal, because when you start to write it down, you really internalize it. You get it out of your head onto a piece of paper. And so really thinking about, okay, where are my stresses going from? Is it my job? Is it my marriage? Is it whatever it is that is going on? And just taking that and parking it a minute and just working on one or two things that are stressing you. Okay, so I mean, look, I had to actually look at my life. I was training up to 10 people a day and I was exhausted. I could hardly get out of bed. And because I was training people, I'd have to come out and go, hello, how are you today? And I was just exhausted. I had to put on a show. I did actually used to be in show business, so I knew how to actually put on a show. Okay, but it only works short term. And then thinking about, obviously, when you've got menopause and you're going through menopause, this is not something that you can avoid, but you can help even up those hormones, making sure that you are feeding yourself. You're making sure that you've got the right amount of nutrition. You're having enough protein, you're having enough fiber in your diet, you're having a really good diet, and you're fueling yourself. So that then you start to have a good relationship with the food. Because going back to the car analogy, you wouldn't drive down the road and not put any fuel in your car. You wouldn't put water in your car, would you? You'd actually put fuel in it, or you would charge it if it was an electric car. So why wouldn't you not fuel your own body? We spend more time thinking about the vehicles that we're driving and spending money on them rather than thinking about ourselves and how we actually function. Okay, so thinking about your stresses, starting with that, starting to track what you're eating, making sure that you're having sufficient protein. Okay, and that's going to help. And then quality of movement, starting with some deep breathing through your diaphragm, belly breathing. And I actually teach it on all four. So you're breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. It's starting to calm the nervous system down, helps increase blood flow to the gut, because the gut and the core are on the same neurological loop or switchboard. So it's really about understanding that and then listening to yourself and then having that recovery time, so that then it's really about working smarter, not harder, and understanding that you can start to recover, your body starts to adapt, and then you start moving towards your goal. And I mean, sometimes, as women especially, I think we tend to get really busy doing all of these different things, spinning plates, almost running back and forth like the circus trainer, keeping everybody else happy and putting ourselves on the back burner. So really just understand that, give yourself a break. If some days things don't go to plan, or you don't end up doing as much exercise as you wanted to do, just get back on the horse. Okay, rather than, oh well, I'll give up. Okay, you can only go on motivation to a certain degree. So really just understanding that. So one of the takeaways I would say is, or a few takeaways would be making sure that you're taking time for yourself, you're reducing your stress, whether that's walking on the beach, doing something that you enjoy doing, like dancing or thinking about even knitting, crocheting, doing something that really starts to rest you, thinking about good nutrition, writing down those stresses that really affect you on a daily basis, and then thinking about breathing through your diaphragm and strengthening that inner core. Now, if this is something that you feel you would really like to get some assistance with, I've actually got an offer where you can actually come and have a postural and core assessment where I can assess whether your inner core is working, and then you can go away with a strategy to be able to get that to work better, that internal engine. We start to create a pump so the blood flow pumps better, the hormones balance, and everything starts to work well. Okay, so I really would love to see you come and see me. If you've got any questions, the links and everything, information on how to do that will be below. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.
Together we are global speakers talk.